Welcome back. So today we are going to dive into Hercules. Hercules is the legend, a very symbolic story which helps us to understand the evolution of a human. And in terms of, as a human, the way that we can master and the way that we can use our personality in order for our soul, our higher self, to fully express through this vehicle, through this body, using our mental body to create the thoughts, passioning it with that drive, that emotional guidance system to propel us forwards, and then the physicality and the physical skills that's needed to actually put something into action. So it's a big one, and we're only going to talk about Hercules' labor in Scorpio. So each of the signs of the zodiac relates to a certain test, a certain part of self-mastery or evolution that we have to battle with, and just like the keynote of Scorpio, and come out triumphant. We have to go to battle. And what are we going to battle with? With Scorpio, it's all about the subconscious. It's all about the emotions. So in my previous video, I was talking about emotional polarities. And this is kind of the basis of shadow work. That's called shadow work, and it comes from Jungian psychology. And when we have brought these parts of ourselves, these parts that we're rejecting, that is kind of coloured, if you like, in an emotion, and each fragment of ourselves kind of forms its own astral monster, which we don't want to look at, that we're scared of. But then when we get curious, when we start to actually have a conversation with that part of us, that monster, we actually find that it's not that scary. It's actually quite often quite a fearful, scared part of us. Maybe it's, if it's a kind of a nasty part of us, the kind of internal abuser, if you like, the one that tells us we're not good enough, the one that tells us we need to do better. Often it's actually trying to protect us. It has been maybe fearful of ridicule, fearful of being pointed out as being being a fake. You know, we're all worried that we're going to be found out to be fake because, you know, all of us are learning, all of us are growing, and no one is perfect. That we are all perfect, and yet we are all not perfect. We are perfectly imperfect. We're just not going to find that on the human plane. So we start the dialogue, and that's what the last video, the polarities, is about. And hopefully through journaling and through meditation, we can start to bring those bits back, and we can find that the bits that are angry and resentful about things actually actually are going to give us the power and the drive as we transform the anger into action, into bringing about the things that we really want from our lives, and we're living our natural frequency, our natural resonance, our purpose, whatever word works for you here. Semantics do divide us so much. So we bring these bits back. Maybe we find that there's this body of guilt and of shame, and we start to talk to that part of us. This is the work that I was talking about. And then we actually maybe open up about it. We talk about our miscarriages. We talk about menopause. We talk about these points when we have been abused in the past. And somehow we meet someone else who recognizes that and sees that. And even if it's just ourselves talking with that part of us and actually loving that part of us, creating a dialogue. And that's what the whole thing is about, bringing it back into ourselves. And in this integration process of bringing these bits of rejected emotion, of astral monsters back into us, we are effectively defeating them. We are utilizing that power, whether it's in action, in transformative action, whether it is in forgiveness, self-forgiveness, forgiveness of others, and with that we bring them back. We become a little bit whole, and we access this new experience of our life. And people see very big, profound changes when they do that. And all of a sudden, life becomes pleasurable. Life can become fun. Life becomes easy. And it's almost, it happens in every sector. Whenever we start to master ourselves a little bit, we get some power, right? And it's what then we do with that power. And that's why I'm bringing in the story, the legend of Hercules, and the symbol of his labor to defeat the Hydra. Because in these powers that we get in integrating these bits of ourselves, there is also a load of glamour, and there is a load of illusion. We receive a little bit of power, and we find that we get kind of addicted to it. We get stuck in it. You see it in the yoga world. You see it in politicians. You see it in anyone who, in anything where achievement happens or people become successful. Social media, influencers, and with each individual, when they reach this point, it's like the test, right? So Scorpio, as I've mentioned, is the second initiation. So it's the point where we are mastering our emotions. We are defeating this sum total of astral or emotional matter that we have rejected. We're bringing that back to us, and we are trying to transform that to bring us to bring us mastery of our emotions, to be able to operate from the center point of the wheel. Remember the wheel that I kind of drew you last night? So in the center is ourself, and the outside is all that is life and the experience of life and what emotions we get. You know, it's as real as the self, don't get me wrong. I'm not rejecting, we don't reject either side, we don't reject the emotions. But equally, we want to center ourselves in the middle of this wheel, being able to see what the emotions are, being able to know when we are emotionally imbalanced, being able to perceive other people and see when they are off center, to see when certain parts of them are getting lost in the story and the drama of the emotion and of the story, instead of bringing it in. So with that, on to Hercules, and I'm going to read the story from the Labours of Hercules, an astrological interpretation, if anyone's interested. I'm going to skip the first bit, but I'm going to get to the juicy stuff. So, are you sitting comfortably? The stagnant swamp of Lerna was a blot, dismaying all who came within its confines. Its stench polluted all the atmosphere within a space of 7 miles. When Hercules approached, he had to pause, for the smell alone was well nigh overcame him. The oozing quicksands were a hazard, and more than once Hercules quickly withdrew his foot, lest he be sucked downward by the yielding earth. At length he found that lair where dwelt the monstrous beast. Within the cavern of perpetual night the Hydra lay concealed. By day and night Hercules haunted the treacherous fen, awaiting the propitious time when the beach would sally forth. It's very old school. In vain he watched. The monster stayed within his fetid den. Resorting to the stratagem, Hercules dipped his arrows in burning pitch, then rained them straight in the yawning cavern where dwelt the hideous beast. A stirring and commotion thereupon ensued. The Hydra, its 9 angry heads breathing flames, emerged. Its scaly tail lashed furiously in the water and mud, bespattering Hercules. 3 fathoms high the monster stood, a thing of ugliness that looked as if it had been made of the foulest thoughts conceived since time began. The Hydra sprang at Hercules and sought to coil about his feet. He stepped aside and dealt with it as such a crushing blow that one of its heads was immediately dissevered. No sooner had this horrid head fallen into the bog than grew 2 in its place. Again and again Hercules attacked the raging monster, but it grew stronger, not weaker, with each assault. Then Hercules remembered that his teacher had said, "We rise by kneeling." Casting aside his club, Hercules knelt and grasped the Hydra with his bare hands, and raising it aloft, suspended in mid-air, its strength diminished. On his knees, then, he held the Hydra high above him, and that purifying air and light might have their due effect, and the monster, strong in darkness and in sloughy mud, soon lost its power when the rays of the sun and the touch of the wind fell on it. Convulsively it strove, a shudder passing through its loathsome frame. Fainter and fainter grew its struggles, till the victory was won. The 9 heads drooped, then with a gasp in mouths and gazing eyes, fell limply forward. But only when the lifeless lay did Hercules perceive the mystic head that was immortal. Then Hercules cut off Hydra's one immortal head and buried it, still fiercely hissing beneath a rock. Returning, Hercules stood before his teacher. "The victory is won," the teacher said. "The light that shines at the gate 8th is now blended with your own." Oh, that was exciting. So what does that all mean? So effectively, Hercules is the aspirant, is the disciple, is the human being who has decided to master the vehicle of personality, to master the mind, to master the emotions, to master the physical body, in order to really live the soul's purpose, frequency, vibration, resonance, whatever word works for you. And Hercules has gone through these various labours. That's what the 12 signs of the zodiac are. And upon reaching this point of the Hydra, he comes towards a stenching bog. You know, this is the subconscious. This is where everything that is the shadow form, everything that's under the surface is living, and it stinks. You know, it's not a pleasant place. And the Hydra with his, I don't know what gender, sorry, the Hydra with its 9 heads are symbolic of 3 appetites, 3 passions, and 3 kind of vices of the unilluminated mind that we are working to overcome. So it didn't work for Hercules just to chop the heads off, to go in full force. It didn't work to go and reject all these things. It didn't go and work to forcefully push it away, cut it down, because all these extra heads arose up. So what do those heads mean? What are those heads all about? And those heads in the 3 heads of appetite represent sex, comfort, and money. Okay, sex, comfort, and money. So in terms of the appetite for sex, sometimes it is suppressed and sometimes it is overly focused on. So the astral monster, if you like, or the Hydra head that needs to be overcome here, or raised up to the full light, is the bringing the balance between the sexual polarities and finding the place where actually sexual energy can be spiritual empowerment. It's not that it's all the time. It's not that it occupies our mind. It's not like we're just simply listening to our animalistic desire. And equally, we are not rejecting the fact that we are human and we experience pleasure and we enjoy tastes of life and the sexual tastes of life as well. And so this is one part that we can that we look to, and I see it a lot with people who've done a lot of work on themselves, just like I was saying before, and then they find that actually they are able to get better sex. Yeah, I'm enlightening, I'm empowering myself, and my sex life is great. Brilliant. Like, we all want a good sex life, right? But then it becomes part of the identity. Then it becomes, I'm into sex magic. I can help you get the best pleasure of your life. It feeds a part of the ego. So there's a next level to go to. It's not just going, okay, I don't reject my guilt and my shame over my sexuality, over my ability to experience pleasure, but equally I don't become that, and I don't live for that. I live to use that to enable me to be a vital being that can live fully in my experience and expression. Comfort is a really big one. I think that's massive, particularly in Western cultures. You know, the comfort of possessions and having stuff, you know, and just the modern comforts that mean that we can just come home and we just turn on the Skybox or the Netflix. We can come on internet and we can distract ourselves. And we're not pushing ourselves. We're not doing the one thing every day that scares us. We're not pushing any boundaries into vulnerability. We are just doing the comfortable thing, right? And we love our stuff because our stuff makes us happy, right? So there's the second head. The third head is all about money, and in a similar vein, you know, when we get good at mastering ourselves, using our mental apparatus, powering it with our passion, our desire, we get good at creating money. And then the money we get addicted to. And, geez, I don't even have to go into that one. You see that everywhere. And money is an energy in itself. But again, we get wrapped up in how much we're accruing. And equally, the shadow work world is also feeding that. Because when you get good at shadow work, you get good at, you know, confronting the demons of, you know, well, I feel guilty about charging, so I'm going to charge loads. And I'm going to tell people I'm charging loads because it empowers them to charge loads. Because then we can all charge loads, and then we're all making loads of money. And we get into a place of kind of spiritual capitalism. So those are the three appetites. And then we have our passions, which we have dived into a little bit yesterday. We have our passions of fear, of hatred, and of desire for power. So they're emotively presented, and fear is a really big binding force that stops the individual standing in their power. And fear of ridicule, fear of being mocked, fear of being judged, you know. So it's easier to stay in our comfort zone than pushing ourselves out. And then number 5 is hatred. You know, hatred in its deepest sense, you know, this is where it gets extreme. This is where we're rejecting, and it's kind of actually deepest truth. You know, hatred is almost rejecting life, you know, and you don't just get it in people like hating individual personalities, like one personality hating another personality. You know, I don't love it, I reject it. It's part of separation. And then on a kind of spiritual sense, you know, when we are hating the physical body, we're rejecting the physical body. We are rejecting living, the living part of life. And then the desire for power, you know, and I've mentioned that already. But yeah, power that comes from here is very different from power that comes from the solar plexus, the gut, this kind of ruling over others, as opposed to showing yourself, uniting with others, allowing others to be vulnerable, to be seen, to express their true expression. And that power is going to bring us together. And the fear and the hatred, I think, is really coming up in the world right now. You know, the fear of dying, fear of death, the fear of what ifs, the hatred of the other sides, you know. We're creating more enemies, friendships are breaking down or being challenged right now, people with like opposing views. And I think those three heads, those passions of fear and hatred and desire for power, are really key for us to be working on in our own life. And then as we see other people, you know, watching our reaction to people with different views, seeing and managing our fear levels. You know, are we so frightened that we can't live anymore? And then the three vices, the vices of pride, of separativeness, and cruelty. So pride, again, links us to this desire for money. It places one above someone else. It's exclusive. It's you know, separativeness. Separativeness and pride are really creating this division, this fueling hatred, fueling almost control. When we've fractured the individuals are all hating each other and all living in fear, then there is an ability for power to come in and control, you know. In terms of what's going on right now, you know, my personal perspective, you know, the virus is just the virus, and there's no great big plan here other than both the light side is going to try and come through, and people are going to try and capitalize on this. This Hydra is literally coming out. We're seeing like some individuals, some groups using fear, some using hatred. People are being cruel to each other. There is a division, a separateness. There's a pride. Oh, I know what's the truth. I know what's the truth. You know, I'm going to change things. And there's a balance here between what you can do in your life for you, what you need to stand up for out there in the world. Everyone has their place, everyone has their purpose. And then what we project on other people, you know, like what they're not doing or they're doing or how they're making you feel. You know, they're your emotions, they're your feelings. And the three key skills that Hercules in this challenge really needed to defeat the Hydra is humility. The humility to say, you know, I screwed up, you know, or I didn't speak well to you. I was divisive. I pushed you away. I was hateful. I was acting in fear. I was avoiding the situation. I just wanted to sit in my comfort zone. I just wanted to be as cuddled up as I could and cocooned because I didn't want to feel all that difficult stuff out there in the world. So he needed humility. He needed courage. You know, that was being vulnerable, you know. He threw away his club and he got down on his knees, literally got down on his knees and lifted this beast above his head. So Hercules, representing our higher self, is symbolic of us having the courage to confront those darker parts of our sides and literally lift it all up into the air. And the air, when it's not connected to the ground, is the realm of the soul. Soul operates in the abstract plane, higher consciousness, and the spirit. Spirit is light. You know, the higher frequencies of life. Geez, again, words are going to separate us now. The divine, God, all of these words do mean the same thing. There is unity between all of these theologies, religions. Everything talks about the same thing in different languages, whether it's, you know, I use light, love and purpose, and some people hate purpose because it's someone else's purpose, and some people hate love. I mean, who hates love? Some people don't like light, don't like the word divine, don't like the word God. So we're lifting this thing up above our ego, above our identity. There's the vulnerability. That's the thing in the center of the circle. It's like, here I am, free from my identity, free from this idea construct of who, like, I've created through my conditioning in life. And then the third one is discrimination. And that's a real faculty of the mind. You know, at this point, we really, we're overcoming our emotions, but the faculty of our combined action of our rational and our abstract mind enables us to use our intuition and our critical thinking to discern what we have to do. So if we are covered in emotion, if we are fueled by hate and fear, we're not going to be able to discern. So then we need to bring ourselves back to our center through our techniques of mindful walking, of breathing, of meditation, to be able to discern, to be able to actually label it, to say, oh, I'm going into my comfort zone. I just don't want to feel anything right now. And equally, there is a kindness there, but we have to make it conscious about what we're doing. Okay, right now, I just need to be in my secure zone because I've gone so out of balance. I just need to rest. I need to restore. I need to rebalance. And then I can go out and be courageous. And then I can go and show myself. I can be humble again. I can let go of my pride and say, I fucked up, you know? I said the wrong thing. I didn't mean that. My Hydra was talking then, you know? And some people do give those bits of ourselves that are kind of crazy monsters that come out names, and sometimes that helps to personify it. So that could be something that we think about. And this Hydra then, once it's lifted up into the air, it kind of withers, it loses its power. It's not got its roots in the muddy water anymore. It's not affecting the emotions. The emotional system can now be used as its guidance system of the soul, of the higher self. When it's this Hydra, or the astral monster, is not in control, or dweller on the threshold, sorry, forgot to chuck that term in there. They're all the same thing. When that guy or woman or it is not in control, then our soul speaking through our emotions is far more potent. We can listen to that. When we get that feeling that something's right, we go for it. When something's wrong, we don't do it. That's our intuition working on a more physical level and a more emotional level. And we all have our innate sensitivities in different ways, depending on you as an individual. So he's lifted it up, it's wilted, it's lost its powers, and then this kind of and an immortal head is revealed, kind of crazy horror movie. And that immortal head he places under a rock. It's back on the earth. And it's that immortal head that actually becomes the power for the next step. And the next step of our journey is into Sagittarius. So we still have a way to go in Scorpio this month. There is a bunch of stuff that's happening in the world. But following this, we get this capacity to fully use our intuition in Sagittarius, to fully see the vision of what comes after this battle, after this tipping point. And if we bring it back into relation with the age of Aquarius, of where we are, we're at that tipping point between the age of Pisces and the incoming age of Aquarius. We are moving from self-sacrificing, selfless kind of service and following of others, of gurus, of like a hierarchical kind of teacher system, to certain people attaining more than others, into the Aquarius system, which is very much group support, group led, on a personality level, a more scientific, rational approach to life and living, and into the mind, into the training of our capacity to critically think, to be able to intuitively know, to use our wisdom. And the only way we're going to get to that point is by dealing with all of this shadow. Sure, we're going to do it in a month, but we're going to do, if each of us does one layer, this is like collective work, guys. This is why we're here. This is what we're involved with. All the stuff that all of our parents and our parents' parents haven't done, we have a responsibility for our children, or for our nephews and nieces, or for the rest of the children that are growing up and their children, to do one layer. If we could do one layer, great. And we show them then that we talk about it with them as they're growing up. We talk about emotions. We don't reject their emotions or their feelings. And when we talk to kids, we don't talk to them about being good or being bad. We talk to them about how they're feeling. Just as you are now learning to talk to yourself. And we talk to our kids about these, about sex, about money, about power, about how fear and hatred are kind of can run the show. And obviously we pick our top points as parents, those of you who are parents, those of you who are teachers. You know, it's not like, hey, this is a story of Hercules. This is some great scary monster and he chopped his heads off. You know, and kind of we tried that. If you look in a lot of our children's books, you know, it's all there. You know, the dragon stories where the dragon is on the treasures, you know. Did you get it? I didn't get it. Like, I'm 37, and I'm only just getting it now, you know. The stories of pirates, the stories of monsters, it's all in it. But it's not worked through, it's not talked about. So this emotional awareness, this emotional intelligence, the development of the study of psychology, this is going to, and psychology is a really interesting subject because it does bridge the more qualitative and quantitative disciplines. And this, I think, is going to really help the Aquarian age, this understanding of trauma releasing. And we see it more and more, you know, physical, emotional, mental trauma release. Becoming more conscious of why we're doing things, always questioning, always asking ourselves. And in terms of what we see out there in the world, you know, it's this monster that's been playing out through the individuals and collective humanity that's kind of shaping all of the environmental issues out there, greed, power, desire for power. And as the more emotional level is dealt with, then the environmental stuff is going to be able to be addressed. We're not going to be able to do the two without. So it's going to take a generation, and it's going to take the rising masses to say, these power tripping, money hungry, comfort-loving, hating, fearful, because most of them are fearful, people at the top of, you know, big companies, heads of state. These are not who we want to represent us. And maybe there needs to be a bit more of a collapse before we can create the new vision across all sectors, across the environment, food production, education, health system, economics, like social support systems, the whole lot. And all of it in true Aquarian ways needs to be far more integrated. Like, it needs to be looked at as a bigger picture. So don't get lost in the big stuff that's going on there. But for me, take comfort, you know, in the fact that this is just part of the process of getting some of the mud up into the body, into the bottle. Like we have a bottle, it's always had the mud at the bottom, but it's felt clear, right? And only now it's just being shooken up, right? So we can see it all. So we're trying to take some of that mud and transform it. We're trying to purify that water a little bit, so there's a little bit less mud to deal with. You know, we'll accuse some more mud for different reasons, and we'll have our own Aquarius issues over the next 2,000 years. But essentially, that's the work right now, and it just feels hard. It feels like everything's bad because the bottle has been shaken, because that Hydra is visible, because all the emotions through stress are being brought up for all to see. So get journaling, keep going with the questions, and I'll see you next time. Namaste.